everyone, welcome back to episode 22 of Talkoffamepod podcast. I'm Kylie. Today we have on actor Justin Cullinan with us today. Thank you so much for coming on, Justin. It's a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So over the last year, we've been stuck in isolation. So what is something that you did over the last year that you wouldn't have time to do before?
Auditions. But like for real, I think the pandemic obviously is horrible, but in terms of acting and my job, it has helped tremendously because I don't have to go to Boston or New York or LA all the time to audition. I can just do it myself, tape set up, and I can do it from like the comfort of my own home. So I definitely would not be where I am in my career right now, probably if it wasn't for COVID, which is horrible to say, but it's just true. It just made it easier because everything was virtual and there's so many people in the industry around the country that being able to do everything virtually helped a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Like there's some pro and cons about quarantine, obviously being stuck at home, not being seeing our family and loved ones that we can usually do and be our busy schedule. Like there's some the reason why I started this podcast is basically during quarantine. I had no time. Basically I was like, oh, this will be perfect. During these going times I was bored. I was like, this will be perfect. But what was like the most difficult part for you being like auditioning from home and not being able to go anywhere for auditions or like shooting, like being on set and stuff?
The hardest part, I wouldn't say auditions was hard to do from home. The only thing I had to get used to was just getting the right setup. It took me a few months to like get the right stuff that worked for self tapes. But that was pretty simple, I guess. But being on set is, of course, very different. I've only ever worked on like two sets before COVID. Every other project I've done was during the pandemic. So, but when I did a show. Whoa, sorry. Um, um, oh wait, one second for them to drive by. Sorry. When I did a show called Defending Jacob, that was before COVID, and that was like the first time I'd been on like a real big set, and like actually been a part of something like that. And that was super fun. And then to go from the switch to doing it over the pandemic, um, definitely wasn't the best because everyone has to wear a mask. Obviously, rightfully so. Of course, everyone wore masks, but it was
Yeah,
just
like just
different. It
like
was harder to connect with people. Get to know people like a little bit because you had to be distance, and it was just also a big part was having a skeleton crew. Like you couldn't have a lot of people like working behind the scenes, so it made things go a little bit slower than they could have been.
yeah.
um those are the pretty much setbacks being on set for the pandemic.
Oh yeah, like it stings. Like you like before the pandemic hit, like you're used to being less 6 feet apart than people. You're auditioning, doing your daily routine. Then once the world stopped, we're like, what are we gonna do with my
Right.
lives right now? It's just our world stopped, and we just got bored trying to figure out like what are we gonna do? Like that's how it was for me because like once I pandemic hit, I had nothing going on. I'm used to going to do my own thing, and then once the pandemic hit, I'm like, what am I going to do with my life right now? I thought it was gonna be over in a couple of weeks, and then a year later, we're still here.
They're
So,
still here, yeah.
and so like you mentioned before, like you were part of a show before kind of like the pandemic hit. Like, what was that experience for you to be part of it?
Yeah, that was weird because so before Defending Jacob, I had been an extra on one set for like a TV movie. It was only because it was filming in my town and they were doing it for free, actually, like no one got paid. But that was the first time I was, I guess, technically on a set, even though I wouldn't really count it as a set because it was a very low budget, like TV film. But anyway, and then like a year later, Defending Jacob came and was filming New England, kind of around where I live. And one of my like teachers from school, I think, was like, "Oh, hey, they're doing like extras, like sign up to be an extra." And I was like, "Okay, cool, great." So I signed up to be an extra, and then I think like a week or two later, they were like, "Oh yeah, sure, you can be an extra. Like, great. Like, send us your information, blah blah blah." So they're like, "Hey, cool. Like, I get to be an extra again. That'll be fun." And then, like 2 weeks before filming or something, I got a email from either the casting director or casting associate from Boston Casting saying I was one of 10 kids selected to audition for a small role. And I was like, "What?" what is this? So then like they sent me audition details to go in person for like an audition, and my brain was just blown because I was like I was going to be an extra, and now they want me to like audition. I had never auditioned professionally. I've only ever done like theater, so
Mhm.
I did not know what like auditioning was professionally at all. Luckily, some of my friends also had an audition, so it was cool. We like got to go to Boston together, and we auditioned like basically at the same time, like one after another. So it was fun to have like the support of them. And
Mhm.
then like a week, I don't know, like a week later or something, I got a call from the casting director saying, so we're pretty much sure we're going to book you. We just have to check with like Paramount Pictures, the production company, to like double check it. And I was like, what? And then they emailed me like I don't know, an hour later or something. And they're like, okay, we have final approval. Like you're booked for such and such date for singing in the choir or whatever. And I was like, I was just blown away. It was so fun.
Oh, that's amazing. What was like your initial reaction to be kind of bit in like a kind of like a big role? I would say like what was it kind of reaction to be? Say for me, I'll be like, what? How is this even possible right now?
Right. It was so weird. I was familiar with because it's in like it was in New England, like it was around where like I kind of knew where they were filming.
Mhm.
So I wasn't like I didn't have to fly to LA or New York or drive crazy hours. And then when I got there, huge production, like huge hundreds of people because there were a lot of extras there that day. The scene was a graduation scene. Most people on set that day were an extra, but I was considered like a principal actor co-star, like a very, very small role
Mhm.
because I didn't have a line, but I was singing, so like it still kind of counted as a co-star role.
Yeah.
So they had us separate from the extras in the beginning. They had us go like to hair and makeup. They had us put on the like the choir like robe thing, whatever it's called, for us to like sing in.
Mhm.
And then I was in hair and makeup for like I don't know 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and then all of a sudden like they got their little walkie-talkies and they were like, we need all of the choir like kids on set right now. So they rushed me out of hair and makeup, and then they had us go and like see where we were gonna be, and they just kind of walked us through how the scene was gonna be. And then we had I think a quick break, and then it was time to actually start filming the scene. And I had no idea what the scene was about. Like I just knew I knew the song, I knew the words I was supposed to sing, and that was like it. And I had my two friends who I knew that were there. That's the extent of what I knew. And my mom wasn't on set. She was like in like holding area. She wasn't like in the room with me.
Mhm.
So we sang our little song, and then they had us like sit down like with the rest of the extras, and then they had like the actual character come on and say this big long sad speech, and I cried the first time I heard it because I didn't even know what the story was about, and it's about a dead middle schooler. Like that's literally what the scene was about. It was like this middle schooler had died, and his mom came up and said a speech, and so all of us at the end of the first take were like, oh my god, this is a dark show. Like we had no idea what was going on.
Mhm.
So that was so fun. We must have sung the song like, I don't know, like 80,000 times, I swear to God. We seriously sung that song every 2 minutes. I think the song was like 4 or 5 minutes long. I think in
Oh,
the show,
really?
they shortened it to be like 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes, but the actual song is like 5 minutes long. And we sung
Oh,
it
wow.
over and over and over and over and over. I never want to hear that song again.
Yeah, I just got guess you just played it so many times that you're like, I'm sick of it. Can you just stop, pick a clip that we just did and just stick with that?
Exactly.
Yeah, so as we're kind of speaking about you being an actor, like what made you want to like start that, like being an actor?
Well, when I was like really young, like 3 or 4, me and my sister would like put on shows in our house and we would do those cringy like little shows for our parents and stuff. And then when I got into like I don't know, like first or second grade, I got into musical theater and doing plays like on stage. And I actually like directed is not the right word, two of like my own plays when I was in like first and second grade, and we actually like put it on at the school. I like wrote the script. I like cast all the people when I was like, I don't know, 7 or 8. It was horrible, like horrible, but I had the passion for it a long time, very long time ago. And then I did musical theater all the time, basically up until like ninth grade, because ninth grade was when the pandemic hit. And
Yeah.
then I did Defending Jacob, and I was like, oh, like this is cool. Like I really wish I could do more of this. But I still only thought I could do extra work. So I like applied to be extras at a bunch of places and blah, blah, blah. And I heard one time someone say something about like an agent. And I was like, "Oh, I'm not bougie. Like, I don't want to pay for an agent." Like, I didn't know like what an agent really did. I didn't
Yeah.
know how any of that worked. And so one time I was like, why not? Like, why not? Why don't I apply for an agency? I found out like you don't have to pay them up front. That's a scam. I found that out. Not the hard way. Someone just told me, they were like, don't do this. So I applied to like agencies that looked legit around New England. I just applied online like at 11 o'clock at night in a whim. Completely forgot I applied. Genuinely like did not even remember it happened. And then 2 weeks later, the my former agent now actually, she reached out to me and she was like, okay, can you come in for a meeting in Boston at this time on this day or whatever? And I was like, oh my God, I totally forgot that I did this. So then I told my mom, I was like, we have a meeting with an agent in Boston in like 2 weeks. And she was like, what? Okay. And then I met with her. She was absolutely amazing. Her name was Brianna. She's not there anymore. Someone replaced her a few months ago, but it was absolutely amazing. I met with her. She was so sweet. And then like 2 days later, she sent over the offer to be signed. And
Oh,
then
wow.
auditions from there. And then I got other representation also, but yeah, that's how it started.
Oh, that's awesome. Like, what was your mom's reaction? Was she like, did she like know that you even did it, or you just kept it like a secret?
I don't think I really do think I forgot that I applied. Like I don't remember thinking about it until she reached out asking for the meeting. I don't think I even told my mom. Maybe
Oh
I
my
did like
gosh.
briefly, but like I really didn't like tell her. Obviously, once we got the meeting, she like researched the place and made sure they were legit, and we like were skeptical at first or whatever. But then she was like, "Oh, okay." And I also got my I still am with my New England agency, but I'm also with an agency for New York, LA. I got them by myself too. My mom knew I was applying, but I just like did it myself. I'm very independent that way, I guess.
Yeah, I'm the same exact way. Like my parents just do what say like do whatever you want. If you just do what you're interested in doing, I just do everything myself. And they're like, then I tell them they're like, Kylie, is that even a real thing? And I'm like, I did my research. I'm assuming like
Right.
100%. But like, are you located in like the Massachusetts area, like New England area?
So I live in Massachusetts, and I say that I'm a New England and New York based actor because I'm like 4 hours from New York. So I say I'm like New York slash New England based. I've only ever had to go to New York for one in-person audition. Yeah. I've only had to go into New York for one in-person audition. And I've only done a few in-person ones in New England because literally everything is self-tape now.
Yeah.
But a lot of the auditions I get from my New York slash LA agency, those mostly come from New York and LA. And then my local agency, they get me stuff for basically any of the New England states.
Oh yeah, like I'm actually located in Pennsylvania actually, so I'm like 4 hours from England, not England, Boston. So
Right.
like I didn't go to Boston until like July of this year, but I'm trying to go to more baseball games down there because I like the Red Sox too. Like I like we're one of my favorite teams. So I usually go sometimes make my dad take me to a Boston game or something, just something to do and stuff. So I usually go down there often. So something once I go down to Boston again, or once I travel down there or something.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
hit or since the pandemic hit, like we're now a lot of traveling and stuff, so it's kind of hard to travel and it's slowly things are kind of opening up again. So I'm like happy that at least things are actually opening up instead of everything kind of being shut down and not
Right.
like do anything.
Yeah.
So like once the pandemic hits, it's thankfully it's not like last year. It's like we can actually leave the house for once and do
Right. Right.
what. But what is like your favorite part about like being an actor and being in the industry?
Um, my favorite part about being in the industry is meeting people, like especially younger people my age who are doing similar things in the industry. I love doing that. That's why I do the industry talks. Why I do things like this. So I can do like I love meeting young, especially young actors, all actors, but especially younger actors. Is
Mhm.
one of my favorite things. I've also like just fallen in love with the business, the whole like marketing yourself and doing emails and resumes and headshots and scheduling auditions and all that stuff. Like I really have fallen in love with the business. I even intern at like a talent agency, not as a client, but as like helping. I'm basically like an agent's assistant as an intern because I just love the business so much. And my favorite thing about being an actor, not part of the industry, like the business part, is I love really feeling the character, like really diving deep and like genuinely feeling it, like feeling the emotion of the character. And I love trying to tell stories that have some sort of, all stories have a meaning, but meanings that I'm very passionate about. I can't wait to be part of something that's very activist like or social justice type movie or TV show. Those are the things that I really gravitate towards. Dramas about things like that. I
Yeah,
love that.
same.
And I love when they few and far between the authentic teenage writing experiences, like when teenage shows are written accurately. I love those types of things. I think they really resonate with me because I'm actually a teen actor, and also hopefully
Yeah.
teenagers when they watch the show or movie.
Oh, absolutely. Like how like for you, like how do you like usually like dive into a character? Like even it's like a kind of like a dark role or usually like a comedy movie, how do you usually like dive into the character?
Um, for auditions, it's different than when I actually book something. For auditions, usually I have to do it very quickly because the audition is due very quickly.
Yeah.
I typically read the character description first. I look up, the casting director. I look up the production company. I look at all the project details, basically everything my team sends me, and then I go through the script and I read it first. And then I try and read it out loud, and something one of my coaches says all the time is take the words off the page. So really like take the words in. And it's easier said than done. I don't know how to explain how I was coached into doing that. It's just something I've learned how to do is to take the words off the page and really like feel them and as if I was going to say them myself. Um, and I always try and find some way to relate to the character. Sometimes the character is very different than me, and other times the character is like a step away from being the exact person that I am. So
Yeah.
depending on where that is on the spectrum, I try and find something that is relatable to the character or something that's relatable to the story or the script or the scene or something like that. And then I guess for auditions, I'll memorize and then I'll film it with my sister. My sister's always my reader. We'll film it and then sometimes I'll get coached on it and then I'll send it in. For things that I book, though, it's a little bit different. I usually do more research and I spend more time with whatever the character is. And I usually book darker roles. I just do. I'm also gravitate more towards drama and like darker things. Um, so those I dive into it more. I write like a long thing about. So how do I explain this? Things that aren't already said about the character, like weird little things, like oh, their favorite music to listen to, their favorite like things about them that aren't in the script, but things that I make up myself from what I already know about the character, just to make it more personable and just so I have more and more things to feed off of. Um, so yeah, it's I definitely dive deeper if I actually like book the role. I spend a lot more time with the character and trying to get to know who they are.
Oh, absolutely. Like how do you like kind of like balance like your work and do things that are important to like family now? Like how do you usually balance your work and things you enjoy doing?
Well, to put it lightly, my schedule's crazy, like every actor ever. Um,
Yeah.
obviously I go to school 5 days a week till like 2:30. And I work, not like acting work. I have like another job after school 3 days a week till 6:30, but I don't get home till 7. Um, and then days that I don't have work, I do other after school activities until usually like 4 o'clock. So most days I don't get home until either 7 o'clock or like 4:30, or sometimes later, depending on how long my work goes or how long after school activities go. Um, and then uh, getting auditions into that is fun to schedule. Usually I do auditions on the weekends, Saturday or Sunday, basically anytime. I try to keep my weekends free for like family, friends, like to have an actual life. I try not to do
Yeah.
anything on the weekends. So I'll either do auditions during the weekend, any time of the day. But if I do have an audition that's due in the middle of the week and I can only do it during the week, like there's like a 48-hour time slot or something like that, I'll usually do it pretty late at night, usually around like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. By the time I actually send it in, it's usually like 10 o'clock because it takes me a while. It's like memorize, try and get grasp the character, and then actually film it and get a good take that I like. So it's challenging, but I do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like people always ask me, like, how do you balance doing your podcast, doing other things, trying to promote your podcast and always your family? I'm like, it's not really balancing. It's kind of trying to figure out if like what's fits in your schedule per se.
Exactly.
Like it's really all about like what you think is important and what get people entertained. It's all about trying not to kind of stress you out, put a lot of things on your plate. That's kind of sometimes I feel like, oh, I think this is too much on my plate right now. I don't know if I should do this or not, but like, and like my parents are like, Kylie, this is too much for you. Like, why are you doing this to the schedule? I'm like, I'm a very like if I'm not doing something, I get very bored and I'm like I'm like angry. I just always want to keep myself busy. So I'm like, I have to do something. If this keeps me busy, you're lucky. He's like, I need to stay busy. So like this is like lucky. I'm trying to figure out more things. Whoever like sometimes it's like very difficult to figure out what to do with myself when there's no interviews or something going on. I don't know if I should binge watch a movie for the millionth time, like doing the same thing over and over. So I'm
Yep.
like, like if I should do this again, trying to do the same thing, like what should I
Yep.
do with my life right now?
It's all about scheduling, and my calendar app and my reminders app saves my butt all the time. Like if I didn't have my little calendar app thing where I can like basically put my schedule for the day, I would be lost because there's no way I could remember all the things I have to do in like a week. There's no way I could remember all of it.
Oh my God, same. I have a bad memory that I can't remember like what time is this interview when
Yep.
with on my schedule for the week. I always had to put in like my schedule month to figure out. So I like know like as much to make plans.
Right.
I'm trying to do. So I'm like, if like I didn't if we didn't have calendars and all that, then like I my butt would be insane. I'll be like, oh sorry, I forgot
Yeah.
about this. And I feel
Same.
bad, like if it wasn't for social media, we'll be like kind of screwed if it wasn't for social media for sure.
Yes.
But what goal do you have for yourself to try to achieve as an actor?
Um, I guess what everyone says, book that series regular role or supporting role. But I really just I guess my big goal is I would love to be a series regular or recurring guest star, have some sort of like substance in a show, um, a drama or a mini series or a drama series or something like that. Really about some sort of social justice, whether it be about current like the social climate, whether it be about some sort of political thing. I'd love to be a part of something along those lines in a drama or dramedy type setting. Um, and also I would love one day to be either an agent's assistant or a manager's assistant at some sort of agency or management firm. So I can do that to make money while also auditioning. That's kind of like
Yeah.
my goal when I leave high school is to go to New York because everything's in New York and I have friends in New York and all that. Go to college in New York to be a agent's assistant or manager's assistant or work at like a public relations, something like that, while also having time to audition. That way I can make money while also auditioning and trying to pursue my dreams.
Yeah.
um, and I would love one day to maybe be some sort of behind the scenes for writing. I don't really have an interest in directing. That's too much stress. I don't think I could do that. But
Yeah.
writing, I would love to be a writer on a movie or a TV show. I'm really interested in writing too.
Absolutely. Like if you could write for any show or like try to do something for like a show that you like or a movie, what show would that be for you?
Um, as a show that got canceled, unfortunately, but there was a show that was actually written and produced, and I think she also also a co-creator um, on HBO Max. It was called Generation. Not
Oh
only did I
yeah.
not only did I love the show, but I actually originally started watching it because I think someone from my agency was in it. So I was like, oh, like I should support and like watch whatever show they're in or whatever. And then I just got obsessed with it because the writing, like her name was Zelda Barnes. Shout out, I love her. She wrote it so accurately. Like I watch teen shows all the time. I've never seen a teen show more accurately written in the way we talk, in the way we move, in the way like it's just so accurate depiction of Gen Z, like our generation, that I'm
Yeah.
obsessed with that show. If I could be even just sitting in the writer's room, I would do anything to help write that show, like another season, even though unfortunately it was canceled. If there was a second season, I would be obsessed to write for that show.
Oh, absolutely. I heard that's really good. People always say to watch it, which I'm definitely gonna do. And so like there's a show on Netflix. I don't know if you like watched or heard of it. It's like Ginny and Georgia.
Hmm.
So it's very popular, and like I'm obsessed with that show. That's like the show that my go-to kind of show right now is like Ginny and Georgia. It's like a teen kind of show,
Yeah.
and every time someone's like asks me, "What are you watching nowadays? Is there any shows you're watching?" I'm like, um, I wouldn't say this is something new, but Ginny and Georgia. Like I
Right.
like Ginny and Georgia used to be kind of like my go-to show. It's like a teen about like the director's room or something, the writers, it's kind of based on a little bit about someone's life, a little bit. Some things are in it. So I'm like, oh, this will be perfect. Like anyone, it's like I like shows that are basically like based off of someone's kind of life, like true story type of things. I'm
Yeah.
just based off that. And like whatever it is, like whoever is like a true story, I'm like, I'm gonna watch this right now. I basically like love learning about people's lives and the royal family too. I love the royal family. So anything about royal family or someone's life, I'm like, I got to watch this right now.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So like what is some advice for younger generations that want to be an actor?
Um, I would say people say this all the time, and it's so cliche, but like really keep going. Um, you'll find out if it's something you really want to do when you get into it. The dream about being an actor and about being famous, if your dream is to be famous, do not become an actor because it's not going to happen. You can become a working actor and make your living off acting, but you're not going to be like friggin' like Timothy Chalamet or like something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if that's what your goal is to be famous, do not get into acting. If your goal is to get into acting to tell stories and because you just love to act or you love the business or you just want to be in the entertainment industry, go for it. If you aren't sure if it's your passion, you'll find out when you're in it because it does take a lot out of you. People say that all the time, but it really, really, really does. There's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of just waiting. There's a lot of silence. There's a lot of like dead zone where you're not doing anything. And then it gets really, really, really hectic and you have to change your whole life around to go to New York for a day for a 10-minute audition, or you have to, you know, reschedule like an entire month because you have to go film something and then you come back to normal life. Like it's insane. It's an insane industry. My mom today, actually, I was texting her about some callback or something I had, and she was like, "Oh my God, I hate the last minuteness of the industry." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, but get used to it." And we have like my whole family and my friends too have like grown accustomed to me, you know, having to leave unannounced or having to do an audition because I had to, it's due in 24 hours. Like we've kind of all adjusted a little bit, like a slightly bit about around our lives as to how crazy my schedule is. Um, so you'll know if it's your passion when you get into it because you'll know if you have the passion to actually work for it because it's hard. It's not easy.
Yeah, 100%. Like I remember like last year, like I knew the industry was always like a hard place to be in some type of way, especially acting. I remember thinking to myself, like, I want to be an actor. I always wanted to be in the industry. So I'm like, I think acting might be something I want to do. Then I do online school. So I took like a class or whatever for acting. I'm like, the first class I remember thinking, this is not my thing for sure. So I remember thinking to myself, like all like the things we do and like being much serious is kind of hard for my schedule to fit in. I'm like, this is not for me for sure. Like
Right.
it's like very hard to do, very hard kind of place to be in. So I'm like, this is too rough for me for sure. But if you weren't an actor, what would you be?
I think I would be something in the industry. I think I would be an agent's assistant or an agent or a manager. If it was something not in the industry, um, for a while there, I wanted to be like, I really seriously considered like freshman, sophomore year, actually, being a lawyer or doing some sort of like paralegal work or something. But then I realized that wouldn't really fit in with auditioning also as basically a living. So I was like, maybe let's not do that. And that's a lot of school and it's a lot of money. Um, so if it was something else non the industry, maybe I would maybe be a teacher for young kids. Actually, my after school job, I am a teacher's assistant at a daycare. Um, I don't think that will actually be my full-time job ever, but if it wasn't acting, it might be a teacher for young kids or a lawyer. Probably a lawyer, I would say, or like a paralegal.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like if you could choose like odd roles, even if it's like a little role they did, what would they like which like role they did would your favorite be?
My favorite role, I loved all of them. If anyone's watching this who's a director or someone who knows me, I loved all of them. I loved working with all of you. Genuinely, I've been lucky to work with amazing people. I've never had a bad experience on set. Um, and my favorite though is Charlie. His name was Charlie Staggs. In a movie called The Anger. It has not come out yet. I filmed it like a year ago. Is an in yeah, I filmed it like a year ago. It's an indie feature film. I was obsessed with the director. The castmates I worked with were some of the best scene partners I've ever had. I still talk to them. And the character, it is, no one knows the premise because it's not out yet, but it is a very dark character. I'm not allowed to give anything away, but it's a very dark character. It's a very dark situation. But that character, I think I actually said this to the director, actually. I saw him a few weeks ago. I've never felt the character more. I don't want to say connected because we're kind of different, but I've never like genuinely felt the emotions of a character that deeply. Like if I think about him for too long or if I tell the story for too long, I'll get like really I'll like I can feel him. And I know actors say that and it's cringy, but like it really is true. Something about that kid, like he really stuck with me. So I always say that was my favorite one to play.
Oh, absolutely. Like what was like I know you're not supposed to give like too much away since like it hasn't come out yet, but what was it kind of like for you to do that role and work with a bunch of other actors and people behind the scenes?
Right. It was very indie, very like low budget. Um, but the director is a gifted cinematographer, so I know the movie is going to look like it's at $1 million budget because he's so talented. Like I see his posts on Instagram and I see little videos he makes, and I'm like, this literally looks like it's in a movie. Like you are amazing. But it was pretty much just him for the crew. It was like the director and me and whatever other actor was there. And obviously he's like lights and microphones and things like that. But it was also over the pandemic. So we tried to keep it very, very small in terms of the cast and the crew, obviously. But it was so fun. We filmed it mostly in the Cape Cod area. For the most part, like in the Cape Cod area. And I think we did it all on weekends or mostly on weekends. And it was for the month of like September, October, and then I actually just filmed pickups. Pickups are like small pieces that they might have missed when they were filming most of it like a year ago. So I filmed like small little clips of stuff like I think 2 months ago or something like that. And that was like my final wrap day. Like I was finally done, like really, really done 2 months ago. So it's taking a while, obviously, because it's slow. It's just the director working on everything himself. But it was so fun. Yeah, it was amazing. It's called The Anger. I can say the name of it. I just can't say what it's about. But it's called The Anger, and my character's name is Charlie Staggs. I can say that because it's on my resume. But I can't wait for people to see it. I think it'll be out next year. I think. I don't know.
Yeah, it all depends on like really the pandemic really and everything like coming out really. That's what the worst thing about the pandemic is that like, the movies that are supposed to come out like last year got all delayed till this year. So that's like horrible. But like Marvel, this like I don't know if you're a Marvel fan or not, but like Marvel just like push all these movies out and just put like a bunch of Marvel movies out. And I was like, how is this even possible? This is amazing. Just
Yeah.
a huge
They just
Marvel
I
fan,
feel
so
like
I
every
like
time I
this
open
ones.
Instagram, it's like a new Marvel movie they're promoting. I'm like, oh my God, guys, geez.
Yeah, like, slow down. We're just trying to catch up on this movie. Can you maybe
Right.
wait a little bit? But do you have any particular actor that inspired you to be an actor or like someone that you looked up to?
Not really, weirdly. Not, I mean, yeah, I guess that's weird to say, but not really, because I knew I always wanted to be an actor. Actually, when I was really young, I wanted to be a singer, but I can't sing that great, so that's not
Yeah,
happening.
me too.
But I know I always wanted to be an actor in some sort of way. Um, but I know it's so weird. There isn't like one person I looked up to. There are people I look up to now, of course. Um, Let me think of a few. Oh my goodness. Um, well, I'll just go from the show that I'm watching right now. I'm currently watching The Morning Show. It's on Apple TV.
Oh yeah, and Jeff, wait, Reese
Yeah.
Witherspoon, Jeff Aniston,
hmm
them.
hmm Yes. That show is generally one of the best shows. I watch a lot of TV shows, and that's like one of the
Yes,
best shows I think I've ever seen in my life. And yeah, Jennifer Aniston, Reese Witherspoon. I didn't watch Friends, so like I only really knew Jennifer Aniston like from this show. Like, so I've only seen really her drama acting. I've only seen like an episode of Friends, and she's just scarily good at her character. Like, it's crazy. And same with Reese Witherspoon. Like, they're just amazing. Like, they really are.
oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, but that's from the current show I'm watching right now. But yeah, there isn't really like one person I really look up to.
Oh yeah, like there's no one you can say like Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Aniston. What can you say about them? Like
Right.
I've been a fan of them for years, like as long as I remember. Like Jennifer Aniston, especially. I can't remember how long I've been a fan of her, but like I've been a fan of her from Friends. I'm a fans fanatic. It's my favorite show, and like she's like one of my biggest inspirations and one of the reasons I do like she's like one of the best actors in basically our I want to say ever, but like our generation. And there's no one basically as it kind of deeps into it, kind of like a drama role as like in like a little her age group is like as good as
Right.
her, especially, even though like I've never seen all of her roles, but like it's like definitely she's like kind of like an icon in some type of way. Like she's just amazing at what she does.
Oh yeah, yeah, she's amazing.
Absolutely. So like if you could work with any actor, even if they're still here or not, who would it be?
It's a great question. I know I should have thought about this. There are certain people that like stick out. It's more like shows I'd want to be on. Um, the show again was canceled. I would love to be on the show Generations, just work with the creators of the show, the cast of the show. Um, Also like friends, like I would love to work with some of like my actor friends on things, if that makes sense. Um, I guess I'll shout out a few people if they watch this. Someone who I just met a few months ago, Michaela Lizak, love to work on a project with her. Love to work on a project with her. Also some of like my very close friends who are actors. I have like a group chat of like close actor friends. We talk all the time. Who I met from like some Boston casting class. I would love to do any projects with any of them. Um, and also like it'd be cool to revisit not revisit characters, sorry, but work with people I've already worked with, but on like a really big show or like a really big movie or something to say like, oh, we knew each other way back when. Um, so yeah, that's what I would say. Like people I already know, like I would love to be a part of a project with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the like from like movies and stuff, like even if it's like a very short role or something, it's always make lifelong bonds and friends. That's really the most important part. Like if you could be really like what is it kind of like for you to kind of like did you ever have like a role that you ever had like close friends as a role in the same movie or show that you been in or kind of close to the thing?
Right.
That makes sense.
Um, well, so for defending Jacob, three or four of the people I knew quite well already, and I obviously still talk to them like we were friends before and after. And people that I've met on a set that I'm still friends with. I still talk to all of them. We're also like friends on Instagram and stuff. But I guess the cast or the cast mates I talk to the most are the ones from the Anchor. I think I talk to them probably the most. And also I've met a lot of my friends in acting classes, like mostly virtual acting classes. I do a lot of classes at the prep. I do some classes at Boston Casting. I do some classes with Katie Pullman. For group classes, obviously, I have like my own private coaches. But for group classes, I met a lot of my really good acting friends in classes.
100%. Like he's like you're just there for like 5, 10 minutes, but most of the time you just sit there and wait, so you have time to actually think about what they do and not actually talk about like what are they going for, what they are trying to do. And so like that's really like it's really you're going for and traveling like 2 hours for like a 5 minute audition. That's like
Right.
kind of very, very rare, like 5, 10 minute audition. And so like that's really the fun part, I would say most difficult. It kind of takes the most kind of pressure all the ways. Like you talk to new people and learn, kind of take some things they go by and put it into your character. That's really probably the best part of how to take all the anxiety, stress away and be like, okay, there's people doing the same thing. I don't need to worry about this. I'm gonna get this role.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole thing about like finally working on sets, the whole image of very famous, like the word like famous people has kind of, I don't want to say diminished its meaning. Obviously there are people I look up to, and if I met them, I'd be like, oh my God, I met so and so. But like you said, like we're all in the same industry. You know, they got lucky, they got really famous, great, but like we all do the same work. You know, we all
Yeah.
in some way can relate to how we live our lives. Obviously, some people do back-to-back movies, and some of us, you know, do small roles in movies and stuff like that. But we're all in the same industry, and you know, at least you know partially how they got there and the steps they took that you're currently taking. So it kind of diminished that kind of image for me, at least a little bit. Also, like having acting coaches and being with my like agents and people like that who represent like famous people, it just kind of like diminishes the meaning of like, oh, well, I'm doing the same thing as they are. They just happened to get lucky and they booked this really big role.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But the final question for the interview is, what's the most difficult thing for you about being an actor and being in the industry?
Um, I would say time, like scheduling, it takes up a lot of time. I love it. Obviously, I'm very passionate about it. I spend a lot of my time doing acting related stuff, but it does take up a lot of time. And I guess the hardest part is like not always seeing the rewards or the payoff of it. You know, depending on the week, I could have like 4 auditions in a week or something like that. And I, you know, work my butt off and I don't even get a call back for any of them. Like that's really the hardest part. And
Yeah.
I always tell myself, you know, like so many people audition, so many people are in the same shoes. Only one person's going to get the part, and you know, keep going. Your time will come. Like I know all those things, but it's still hard when you spend hours of your of your day or week or your month working on something and you don't hear anything, you don't get any like you don't see anything out of it. I would say that's the hardest part, and I'm still like working on it. I think every actor is working on that.
Oh, absolutely. Like it's like the same here about like podcasting. Like even like if you're just I have like even do like 5 interviews a week, 6 interviews a week, and like you try to take all these time, figure out questions, and try to figure out like what to do with yourself. Like trying to figure out good questions for the person, and they end up not joining. I'll be like, are you kidding me? Like I did this for 2 hours and they didn't end up joining. And
Yeah.
that's like the hard kind of like the hardest part about it too, because like it's like you spend all this time out of your day, you can be doing something else and like you didn't end up joining. That's kind of like the worst part about it. Is like you spend more time out of your day. And it happened to me a few times. So I'm like, I don't really care to be honest. So like it's like
Uh,
so like I'm like it happened to me a few times. So I'm like, I don't care anymore. Like it's I have other interviews, I have better chances, so it's fine.
exactly.
It's use of it. Like I just don't
Exactly.
care. Like it's like I have better interviews. It's all right. I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's funny we use my time. At least I'm kind of putting myself kind of keep myself busy and trying to do something.
Right. Right.
And so I just want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It really means so much. I can really speak with you all day, to be honest with you. And so it was a pleasure speaking to you, and we can definitely speak soon for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Of course, it was a pleasure.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.